Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about new releases coming out between now and the end of the year for science fiction fantasy. I just did a video on this like a couple months ago, but then there's been more. So many exciting things on the horizon. And I swear it could be my full-time reading, just getting through all these new releases, but I'm having so much fun with them. So part of it is I only talk about the books once they have official covers, because really that's the part that excites me the most, like, oh, what's it gonna look like? And reasonably solid release dates, but usually if they have a cover, they have a release date. These are all the ones that I am highly anticipating and am hopefully going to be reading this year. First up, one of my all-time favorite authors, Anthony Ryan, has a new book and a new series coming out, Tide of Black Steel, slated September 29th, part of the Age of Wrath series. Look at that cover! Bloodsong is amazing. Draconia's Memoria is one of my all-time favorite reads. I love recommending it. Feel like it was written for me. This author is definitely one of my favorites. I love his slow pacing. I love his deep character work. I love his world building. Like, everything just comes together for me. Except for Pariah. But that was a plotting decision problem and not a knock on this author's skill by any means. Anyway, that's really exciting. Already covered very well by BookTube, Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, the third and final book in the Bloodthorn saga. That cover, though, totally fitting with the rest of the series. I love it. Supposed to come out October 22nd. I read the first book and loved it so much, and then stopped reading that to go and finish Faithful and the Fallen, and now I'm on the Of Blood and Bone. So I've saved it for the perfect time to restart the first book and just breeze through, because I haven't read book 2 yet. I'm really behind, late to the party. But this is a very highly anticipated book this year as well. All of them are highly anticipated. I'm just not going to say that again, probably. Jen Lyons has a new book, Sky on Fire. Looks like it's a standalone. It's a dragon story coming out July 9th. And what little I've read of her dragon stuff, I think it's going to be really good. Now, I have recently read Ruin of Kings, first book in her other series, and was wildly impressed by it. Loved it way more than I thought I would. And so an author that I've just discovered that I really love has a dragon book coming out. This is perfect. And it's a standalone. Yeah, I'm totally reading this one this year if I can. How to Become a Dark Lord or Die Trying by Django Wexler. Book 1 in the Dark Lord Davy series. That one's slated for May 21st. This author has been weird for me. Like, I haven't absolutely loved anything that I've read from him, but I've passably liked most of the things that I've read from him. Ashes of the Sun was probably my favorite thing from him. There's just a couple things that are a bit off about the storytelling for me. But this one sounds cheeky and fun, and I'm really interested to see what he does with it. It sounds like a John Scalzi title. I wouldn't call his books particularly funny or clever, so it will be interesting to see him try his hand at that kind of genre. Honestly, this one's kind of a little bit lower on my priority list, but just different enough that I would like to give it a shot. Unexploded Remnants by Elaine Gallagher. I think this is a novella-length story. It doesn't have a series listed yet. Supposedly coming out June 25th. Just the knee-jerk ratings on Goodreads aren't great. It's not even out yet, but the early reviews aren't awesome. I really like the cover, and I love Tor stuff, so I'm going to give this one a try as well. Something about an AI waging war on the future. Something like that. Conceptual sci-fi. I'll take it. On August 13th, Doll Makers by Lynn Buchanan. This one is also not listed as a series, but it does have some really good early reviews. I like the cover and I like the concept for it. So the magic system has to do with some sort of craft creation. I love that. Like, it's giving me Emperor's Soul vibes, or like even Foundry Side, where like the machine construction is what gets the magic going. So it sounds cool. So I'm in for that one. Also on 8/13, Doors of Midnight by Verdi, part of the Tales of Tremaine series. I tried book 1 for some sort of like library hold project that I had, and I didn't make it very far before DNFing it. And I just, like, it starts out with a person telling a bunch of stories within stories, and I find those so thin. Like, whenever a character is telling a story, there's no really way to get depth or whatever. It's more about like how the storytelling affects the crowd around them. But I didn't really want to pay attention to those. I just kind of wanted to breeze past them. It was kind of like how I feel when they put songs in books. But the further I went along, I was like, I don't know, more than 50 pages in, and I realized that, yeah, you do actually need to pay attention to what he's talking about. And so I just kind of lost engagement with it. It is one, I bought it. I have a nice hardcover of it. I would like to get back to it. I love the hardcovers of like the cover of the second one. But this is one I am holding on reserve. I would like to get back to it at some point, and I will probably pick up a copy of the second book just in case, but I'm nervous, all right? Like, I've already dipped my toe in and didn't love it right away, but I like the idea of the story and would like to give it another shot. So I'll put on my patience panties and go back in at some point. 12-3, Blacklight Born by Alexander Darwin. I did mention this one in my last upcoming releases, but I didn't really give it a moment. I also hadn't read the first two books before that. So Combat Codes. I loved Combat Codes. The second book was good too, like 4-star, but not as good as Combat Codes. An amazing focus on training sequences and fight scenes, and I loved it. I feel like it was written for me, and this is the third book in the series. I think it's a conclusion book. I think it's a trilogy. But as we know, until there's a fourth book published, I think everything is a trilogy. It's just my default mode. I am very, very excited about this book. I'm going to see if I can like hound an arc or something. Melissa Landers has a new book out that I'm interested in. I think it's YA. Comes out November 19th. It's called Half King. And this is the author that brought us this book, Alienated. Basically, like if Rory Gilmore hosted an alien exchange student. Like, I really enjoyed that book. It was a fun trilogy. I like the world building or whatever. And it's been a while since I've paid attention to anything, because that one's probably like 10 years old. Anything new this author has coming out. And beautiful looking cover. Don't really know much about it, but it's on my radar. It's something I would like to try. I want to see how this author has grown. I thought she did a great job with the first trilogy. Not that it's related. Monstrous Nights by Demova, part of the Witches Compendium of Monsters series, coming out October 22nd. I have not yet read the first book, but it is almost next up on the lineup. Very excited about that one. But I wanted to mention this one again because it's like a Slavic-inspired low fantasy with witches and monsters, and I'm already sold. So I'm anticipating that I'm really going to like both the first and the second book. It's a duology. October 29th, The Bloodless Princess by Charlotte Bond. The first book is The Fireborn Blade. It's a novella. The second one is also a novella. It's one that I would like to read this year. I mentioned the first one, and see, this is bad when I am now mentioning sequels to books that I mentioned in my last upcoming releases and have not yet gotten around to reading them. That's what you get when you get a lot of novellas being published these days. More than one a year. Other than Tchaikovsky. We'll talk about him. It's a dragon series. That's all I know. I think this is a debut author. This is the second book, obviously. But this is one that I feel like will be right up my alley. And it's so short that I'm like, oh, I can fit that in any time. I don't need to plan it, but I need to plan it in. Demon's Bluff by Kim Harrison, book 18 in the Hollow series. I love the series so much. I love the demons. I love the characters. I love the side characters. This is an urban fantasy author who writes her books as if she's writing an epic fantasy. Very slow, drawn out. You have a lot of time to get enmeshed with the characters. That slow burn, but builds incredible momentum throughout the whole series. And we're at the point now where I feel like things should be starting to kick up for another arc. Especially with some things we found out in the previous book. I'm so there for this. And this one comes out in October. Speaking of Tchaikovsky, Days of Shattered Faith, part of the Tyrant Philosopher series, comes out December 5th. In May, my patrons and I are reading City of Last Chances, the first book in this series for book club, and I'm very excited about that to get into it. I'm assuming I'm going to love it. Tchaikovsky has been a really solid author for me. In fact, I feel like back when I first discovered Sanderson, I read everything I could get my hands on until I got current, and with Tchaikovsky, it's going to be more difficult with the Tchaikovsky to get current than it was with Sanderson. The man has so many new books. This is like his 5th one this year. I don't know how he does it. And they're all quality, amazing books. So very excited to read that one eventually. The color scheme is a bit weird. Like the first one was red, the second one was orange, and now we have like a pale green. And then last but not least, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, Michael Mamet, has a new Planet Side book. It's called Dark Side. Comes out September 24th. And I am probably going to figure out a way to incorporate this into the current Patreon quarterly challenge that I have going, because I must needs reads it soon. Those are all the new ones that I've discovered over the last few months. I used to schedule these particular videos twice a year, once in January, once in July. But I'm like, I'm at the point now where I'm still whatever with my schedule, that I'm going to film one of these whenever I have enough books to talk about, because I love talking about new books. It kind of drives me as a reader, seeing what new things are coming out, and books like series that I just kind of been eyeballing can suddenly become high priority because the next book in that series is coming out and the cover is amazing. So I need to get on that and read those before even more come out, and I miss out more. It's like the worst thing I can do to my reading life is give myself this much FOMO. But I've restructured how I'm doing everything this year, and I'm actually giving open spots to include all of these new releases to make sure that I can tend to them because I love them. Anyway, I'll link the last one I did a couple months ago. It has a lot of books that span the similar time frame, just ones that I knew about a little bit more sooner. Let me know which books you're highly anticipating. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.